Most comedians find their art connects them with other people, but for Kenneth Williams, his art disconnected him from other people because he was rather disparaging that anyone should find what he did funny.
My dick's still sore from the zip fastener mishap. At 7 o'clock to Louis to see the cabaret on television.
From London's Talk of the Town, International Cabaret.
In the early 70s, Kenneth Williams had great success as the compere of BBC Television's International Cabaret. However, his diaries reveal that he was not entirely happy in this role.
No, there's a great art to comparing, a great art. I say that, actually, if that comes out wrong, it's great art. And then you get the people writing in. They write in, you know, about your diction. They do, and my diction is beautiful, as you know. But they write in and say, what's a great art got to do with comparing?
Just as my stuff starts to create an atmosphere, you're back in the banality of these terrible acts.
It was during the making of the International Cabaret series that Kenneth actually wrote to the BBC's booking department and requested that his fee actually be lowered. A unique case, as far as I know. He must have felt somehow morally affronted by the kind of money that they were offering. It just seemed too much for what he was doing.
What he had was something that was perfected, and it became more and more brilliant and finely honed. But I didn't think he introduced anything vitally new as he went on in years.
I thought that he was an extraordinary creature because, well, at a distance, he looked always like a sort of teenager to me. I mean, he had the frame of a young person, the very erect carriage of a young person. And if you were close to him, he could have been, and his little hair over there. It was like a sort of young student.
Being a Peter Pan figure also has its costs. Not being able to enter into relationships with others is partly a byproduct of the fact that these people are too wrapped up in themselves. They are what many psychiatrists would call narcissists, people who are in love with themselves, and they take great care over their appearance, and perhaps they partly preserve their youth as a result of that. And there is a sense in which you do get that feeling of Kenneth Williams.
I'm not a gregarious person by nature. I really do like being alone, and I find, anyway, that relationships are such an appalling intrusion on privacy. You see, falling in love is a terrible sort of loss of privacy, isn't it?
Have you fallen in love ever?
No. I don't think it's possible for someone like me. I'm a complete egotist, you see. And my world revolves about myself. First thing in the morning, I look in the mirror and what a dish, I think. This wonderful figure, I mean, and this hair, spun gold. It's been described. I've been described as, a head of spun gold.
When I went to visit him in his flat opposite St. Pancras Church, it was like a beached liner he lived in, and he was in this room on the 6th floor, and I knocked on the door opened about 2 inches, and Ken said, "What do you want?" I said, "Oh, Ken, I left my gloves here last night." "What do you mean coming round here? Saturday morning, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, you come round here, uninvited, you don't ring up, you don't tell me you're coming, you come round here, I can have anyone here." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, just give me my gloves and I'll go." He said, "Oh, come on in, I've never got anybody here."
Kenneth's flat was very Spartan. 2 rooms, kitchen and bathroom. In the lounge was a couple of Park and Old chairs, a table with a radio, a bookshelf with all his diaries in there, and a record player, and that was it.
It was so lifeless. It was devoid of color. It was drab, and whereas he decorated his language and his public persona with so much vivacity, it was sort of startling.
Badinage, ma pèse. plus blonde, tendre, restaurante. Jacques Cousteau.
Starting in the mid-70s, his career started to fail a bit. The carry-on films ran out quite abruptly. The radio career hadn't been going that well because he was never really a central figure for a program. Theatre had more or less given him up, or vice versa. He hadn't really behaved himself all that well in some of the long runs he'd got. And so he was driven in upon himself, really, and started to appear in chat shows where he was excavating his own life.
Smart man, you know, it's hairdresser, man. Before he was hairdresser, he was a van boy on the LMS. He used to call it hell of a mess. That was the way. And he used to say, don't try that plummy voice stuff with me, mate. Don't try that plummy voice with me. And he hates the theatre anyway. It's all pains and awards, that's all they are.
Robert Cheltenham sent me The Love of Four Colonels. Tedious stuff. Wrote saying, it's not my cup of tea. The agent said, I think you should do it. At least it will keep you occupied, as if I were a laboratory cubicle.
Became a little more irritable, not so much with me, but people in the streets. He didn't want to know people. He started locking himself away, you know, and became sort of very, I can't be bothered anymore.
I certainly wouldn't call myself a happy human being. All the comedians I've known have been deeply depressive people, manic depressive. Hancock was depressive. So was Ted Ray. The moments of seriousness, when you talk to them, you realise what a colossal amount of despair was underneath the facade which they desperately kept it at bay with. They kept it at bay with this facade. It was their duty to channel a private misery into comedy.
I was going along Maryland High Street and I was going on holiday the following day, and I knew I had to get lots of things done, and I suddenly heard his voice, and he had these two young gentlemen with him, and they were hanging on to his every word, and I could hear this voice, and I thought, God, I haven't got really time to talk to him. Oh, but I must. I'm so glad I did, because I never saw him again. And I went, hello, Kenny. And he went, and he turned around, and I was shocked. He was like green. He looked awful.
It's frightening to think that with modern medicine and all the technique available to them, they can't really help you. I think of the old days, you know. You were better off, because nowadays they're all specialists. Everyone's becoming better and better, and less and less.
He said, you look good. I said, well, to be truthful, darling, you don't look so great. He said, I feel awful, terrible. No, it's the ulcer. Got to go and have the operation, have the surgery. And, you know, he looked so sad, so very, very sad. And I remember walking away, and I had big tears in my eyes. And as I say, whenever I talk about Kenny, I laugh and joke. But I find, when I walk away, I'm gutted, because I thought he wasn't happy.
The pain between hunger pangs and rats gnawing at your belly got worse and worse. Dragged myself around Boots and M&S to do the shopping. Home by 11:30, ate biscuits, and the relief was pretty quick. But the exhaustion, immense. At 12:30, had fish cakes for lunch on my own in Lou's flat. She's gone to her club. And then had a lie down. Why? I'm so tired these days. No energy at all. Pain came back with a vengeance. Nothing seems to allay it now. Rang Sheila and Mary Lyon. She said she'd get on to Reynolds about an operation, and we've said sometime after the 25th of April. Even if the op don't work, I can't be any worse off than I am at the moment. Had a meal with Lou at 5:30. Saw the news, watched a dreary saga of mayhem and murder. By 6:30, pain in the back was pulsating as it's never done before. So this, plus the stomach trouble, combines to torture me. What's the bloody point?
He has his share of guilt, but who is without him? Who is without him? We all have a bit. Everyone. We have our share. Yeah. His only crime was that he loved not wisely, but not too well. This kid never had a chance. No. Born on the wrong side of the track. Forced to take in washing. Society drove him to a life of vice. I see. It's not this one who's on trial. It is all of us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.